heal the body, and awaken the spirit. It is a safe place for the curious to develop spirituality through education, communication, and shared experiences of meditation, lectures, seminars, workshops, and publications. Remember to silence your cell phones. And I think we're all familiar with the rules, so I'm going to go over a pretty hefty list of announcements here with our calendar. We have Course in Miracles every Wednesday, starting at 11:30 to 1, and they meet upstairs. Please share on hold right now because the facilitator just had surgeries. We'll let you know when she gets back and gets back from swing of things. Every Tuesday we have our Bible program. Chris Stephen will be speaking about the language of the Bible. In May 3rd, we're joined by Rainbow Eagle. And again, that will be upstairs. And he's joining us via Zoom. May 10th, Reese Kaufman will be here with her collaborative energy. She is a Reiki master and she shares her Reiki. She's amazing. May 17th, we're joined by Daniel Hagman. He's coming in from Butler, Pennsylvania, and he's talking about UFOs and cryptids. After that ends at about noon. At 12:30, we're going to be having our UAP group, that's unidentified aerial phenomena. May 24th, we're joined by Kathy Jevick. May 31st, we're getting together for a drunk circle and a potluck. And both organizations, Merging Hearts and Light After Loss, will be joining together, kind of a volunteer appreciation day. The day before that, on May 30th, Light After Loss tag sale. So if you have anything you'd like to donate to the sale, I believe they are taking the donations May 4th. And you can check out their website to make sure, out their calendar. That's lightafterlossstart.org. Okay. Then on June 7th, we're having our wellness fair. I'm looking at extra volunteers for that event. That lasts from 12 to 6 p.m. That's always an interesting event with all the gender factor. And we also have an ongoing food drive with totes and water. So if you have any goods you'd like to donate, we have a list of items on the tote that they're looking for. We appreciate that. So, without further ado, I'm sorry, the next I'm sorry, can you speak about that?
Yeah, May 13th is the first. We're starting a dream group, and where we talk about our dreams and try to figure out what's going on with ourselves. Sometimes our dreams will tell us about ourselves. Sometimes they can tell us things that are going to happen in the future, or sometimes they can just be a dream. So that's going to be the second and the fourth Wednesday of the month, and it's going to be upstairs.
What time?
6:30 to 8.
And then I think it's June 28th. You're having an SR.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Excuse me, what's SR?
Spirits Roundtable, that's what we're doing today.
Do you have somebody that actually interprets dreams, or you're just discussing your dreams?
We have a woman that was doing it before she went moved, but she's coming back and she's gonna. The three of us are gonna kind of work together. Yeah, work together.
Would that be Bo from Florida?
Pardon me?
Is that Bo from Florida? No. Okay.
No, I can't wait.
Okay.
Yeah. And so basically, we'll help each other work through the dreams and try to understand, try to find the meaning.
Right. Right.
Search for a meaning for your dream. We can help you try to find.
Because sometimes you have like really weird dreams.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Four little teeny weeny raccoons. And their mama was not around. I didn't know what to do with them, and I have no idea why I dreamed that. But anyway,
Come to the dream group. Okay. Come to the dream night. Puzzle that.
So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Sarita Cunningham.
Morning, everybody.
She's speaking about Passionate Friends. She will be talking about the organization she founded after losing a child. So we welcome Sarita and
Thank you.
hand the floor over to you.
Thank you very much. Very good morning. And my partner in crime, John Kovassis, also from Maslin, joined us how many years ago?
Almost 9 years ago.
And he's really been a very big help with the organization. First, I have to correct you all. I did not found Compassion Friends. Compassion Friends is an international organization support group for any age parent, sibling, or grandparent that has had any age child die from any cause. And before we get started with the history and the handouts that I have, we are an organization that parents today don't know that they're going to maybe need us tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to switch it up just a bit. I'm going to introduce John, and he's going to tell his story, and then I will tell mine, and then we'll get into the history, why we are relevant, and why we're one of the best kept secrets in the world, actually. All right, John.
And my name's John Cavazos. I lost my daughter Miranda June 17th of 2017. And my mom actually found Compassionate Friends. It was probably within a month or so. And I remember telling her, I said, well, Mom, I cry at home every day and I really don't need to go somewhere else and do that. But I went with her and stuff. And throughout time and the years, it's become quite, cathartic and therapeutic. It's like handing it forward to help out the next person is just so fresh to them. Because in the beginning, it's just very, very difficult. There's They were just shutting down for 3 weeks, doing absolutely nothing. Eventually got back to work and going from there. And I still remember crying every day. I'd be like, it's been 18 days, it's been 29 days, and I got up to almost 100 days. And then, well, God just said to me, you're not going to cry today. How many days it's been since you lost her? And woke up that next morning and woke up that day and didn't cry. And there's still been other times, like some songs or movies or whatever. It could be any trigger sometimes, but yeah, with the help of Sarita and other people in our group and stuff, and God, it really helped me get through all this.
Does anybody have any questions they would ask him?
And one thing that stands out, that I'm not a parent myself, I'm a dog parent, but from parents that have lost a child, it's one of the greatest hurts that they will ever encounter. And my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
That's the case you needed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. And thank you for all the help for the chapter as well. Way back in 1977, I had a sister. I still have a sister, but she had a 3-month-old daughter that died from SIDS. and it was horrendous. And I know that children die, and I know any age children die. And we were all of the age we were having, having children. And it was like, boy, what could I do to help her? Well, lo and behold, I saw a Phil Donahue show, and it was it was about the compassionate friends, and I listened to that intently, and I thought, well, maybe this will help her. And in that day, in 1977, there was only one bereavement book, one. And it was called The Bereaved Parent by Harriet Sharnoff Shift. And so I bought it and I gave it to her and I would talk to her. But, I'm the oldest of five. There's four girls and my brother's the youngest. And everybody's different. Everybody has a different personality. And once you get to know me, you'll understand I'm not shy and I talk. That's how I deal with things. Well, my sister Mary doesn't talk at all. Well, not really. And she could not talk about it at all. Okay, I can understand that. But I really thought that would help. Well, unfortunately, 18 months later, June 30th of 1979, and 8 months pregnant, my daughter Jessica aspirated and died. I went into premature labor that night. They kept me in the hospital to stop my labor because they said there was too much trauma to deliver a baby and all of that, and it did stop. And then 4 weeks later, I had Amanda. Now, my oldest daughter, Angela, um, I had to my high school sweetheart. We were married 18 months, and my husband, John, died on his 21st birthday, and she was 6 weeks old. So then 2 years later, I married, and Joel and I were married 5 years when Jessica was born. So I was going to have two babies within 18 months of each other, and then all of a sudden, whoever, and I don't want to blame God, she's gone. And when these things happen, you're trying to make sense. You're trying to rationalize why did this happen. You're never going to get an answer, and even if you got the answer, you might not like it anyway. But I kept thinking to myself that there was going to be something seriously wrong with this new baby, and God decided to help me out and take Jessica so that I'd be able to deal with this brand new baby. Besides having Angela, who was 8 years old at the time. Well, she was born 4 weeks later. Of course, there was nothing wrong with her. But so you live your life. You become kind of paranoid that, well, it happened once. It could happen again, and you never know how or why. And then I had Adam, who was 2.5 years behind Amanda. So we had three children. Everything was rolling along. My husband and I owned a print shop in Maslin. We were just very involved in the community and everything. But when Jessica passed, I remembered the Compassionate Friends, and I saw an article in the Maslin newspaper about a local chapter. So I gave them a call about, see, she died June 30th. I went to my first meeting in November. And back in those days, we met at individual homes. And I remember I drove around the block 3 times. Because, like John, I'm thinking, all they're going to do is be sitting in there crying, and I could do that at home. Um, but I got the courage and I went in, and they saved my sanity. They saved my life. I believed in their mission. They helped me, so I became involved and decided I wanted to give back. So I became involved, went to the meetings every month. We meet monthly in Maslin, and eventually I became chapter leader. I would speak on behalf of the organization to other organizations and wanted to spread the word. I then became a regional coordinator, which meant, and it was for Northeast Ohio, it was from Ashtabula to Columbus and east to the Pennsylvania border. I would help new chapters develop. If a chapter was struggling, I would meet with them. This was back before cell phones. This was back before the computer and all that. And I did that for a number of years. And then one day I get a phone call. Sarita, would you consider running for the board of directors? I went, sure, when I get older and my kids are, I said, I still have kids in middle school and what have you. I'm pretty busy. Well, no, we need you now. So I said, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. And then lo and behold, I won. the election, and I was on the national board for 3 years, continuing with the chapter. And this is all volunteer. You don't get paid for any of this, you know. But again, my heart is so into it. Well, tragedy struck again on May 3rd of 2003. Our daughter Amanda had come home from Ohio University 5 weeks before she was to graduate. She was senior class president, very involved in the university. Her brother Adam sang with the gospel choir at Kent State. She'd come home for his concert. We all went to the concert on Friday evening. We all ate together. She spent the night. We She and I went to breakfast that Saturday morning. Went to Macy's, bought her graduation dress because she was to give a commencement speech, and she was to meet with a few other friends before she went back to school. And about 3 miles out of Maslin, a girl went through a stop sign, struck her, knocked her in the path of a truck, and she was killed instantly. And that was just unbelievable. 2,300 people at calling hours, 1,000 people at the high school for her funeral. We asked for, in lieu of flowers, her dad and I decided we were going to do a memorial scholarship for a massive 4-year marching band student because she was very involved in the band. And she still got 112 flower arrangements, which she would have really been upset about. 'Cause she would have thought it was a complete waste of money. But we went on that way, and then 2 days later, the university did a memorial service for her and another 500. And at both of her services, her brother sang Amazing Grace. And then, unfortunately, and I don't like to say that people can die of a broken heart, but my husband was only 51, and he collapsed at our print shop 7 months later, the week before Christmas, and passed. And then I had that to try to cope with again. But again, because of Compassionate Friends and my friends with Compassionate Friends and family, somehow you put one foot in front of each other and try to continue. The one thing I can say is without my faith in God, I wouldn't be sitting here. Although I did walk away from God for about a year and a half after Amanda died. I just I just had to try to cope, and I thought, well, anyways, but I did come back to God and my faith, and also I truly believe in a sense of humor, and I never lost my sense of humor, believe it or not. But all right, so that's basically our story. And when people find out about us, well, let me back up for another second. Way back in the day, we as an organization were told don't try to contact parents, families for about 6 weeks. Because for those first 6 weeks, you have a lot of support between family and friends. But it's the 6 weeks after that that everybody goes off to their normal life, and you're left with this not normal life anymore. One term we use is a new normal. But in this day and age now, with computers, people will go to the computer, say grief support, child support, after the death of a child. And we're getting families coming in 2 and 3 weeks after the death of their child. They're still in total shock yet. And unfortunately, when people come into our meetings, and you don't make reservations or anything, and we don't know, brand new people that are coming, we sit in a circle, we greet everybody. One of the main things I say right away is, we are so sorry for your loss. You're not going to be judged here. This is a safe place. If you want to sit, we have plenty of Kleenex. You can sit and cry. You don't have to even say your name. Then if you want to speak, you could just speak as much as you want to. And then there's the interaction. We also, from time to time, have speakers. Once a year, we have our family picnic at a local park, usually August or September. We also have, through the national organization, our candlelight memorial service, which is always the second Sunday in December, and that's worldwide. Now, because we're in Ohio and we never know about snow the second Sunday in December, our program is at 2 o'clock. But at 7 in the evening, people are asked to light a candle, say your child's name in remembrance, and we go around the world and light a candle. Those are our two main. Oh, once in a while, we try to do our walk to remember, raise funds for the chapter. Sometimes it'll coincide with the National Walk to Remember, but what the national organization is trying to do is how they have the Alzheimer's walks, leukemia walks, and all that. We're trying to nationally do a walk to remember for compassionate friends. That's still hasn't exactly happened, but again, our chapter, which we're called the Carroll Stark Tuscarawas chapter, because we cover 3 counties. Um, we are the oldest chapter in Ohio. I became involved about 3 years after the chapter started, and I'm into my 45th year of continuous work with Compassionate Friends. It's part of my soul. One time, I know a friend of my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, said, how long is Sarita going to be doing this with Compassionate Friends? Said, I think until they lay her to rest, because she so believes in the organization and how we help people. Now, when people come into the chapter, we try to tell them to please give us at least 3 chapter meetings. So maybe somebody will be coming in, and maybe we have a speaker that night that they're really not into, or we're not really large enough, but we're going to have to really have to work on this, John. When we have a brand new family come in, and it could be a husband and a wife, or an adult daughter with a mother, or whatever, and it's only been a couple of weeks, we're going to have to take them off to the side into another room and explain to them how we run our meetings. Because what happens is you come in, we sit in a circle, you give your name, your child's name, the circumstance of how they passed, if you're able to. Well, these people that are coming in 2 or 3 weeks after, they're hearing these horror stories. They're already like in shock. They're already living their horror. They don't come back, which is, that's not the whole point. We want them to come back because we want to help them. And I have found in the 45 years that people that are able to come in and lay their threats on the table and talk about the worst pain they'll ever have in their entire life, because we know our parents are going to pass. We know our spouse could possibly pass, but you're never to bury your child. Never. That's not the natural order of life. And they've done studies. Well, how long do you grieve? How long does this pain last? And you'll have someone say, about 6 weeks. We know that the hole in our heart is never, never completely heals. But that's why they call it grief work, because it's work to work through it. Having drugs, having booze is not going to help you. You've got to deal with it head on. And it's not easy. And unfortunately, we have parents that lose multiple or all children. And then that's another whole subject. We have young parents that come in and will have a toddler or an infant, or we have somebody 70 and their 50-year-old son has passed from a heart attack. That's still your child. And I remember one meeting I went to from the very beginning. We had a father that had gone hunting with their son, and he was 16 years old, and he died in a hunting accident. And there I am with Jessica, who was 18 months old. And this man turned around to me at this meeting, and he lit into me. You have no idea what our loss is like, and your child was 18 months old, and you can have more. I mean, it was horrible. And if I wasn't who I was, with the personality that I have, I probably never would have ever come back. But I thought, you don't know my pain. You at least had 16 years of memories. I have 18 months. Is that fair? Does that count? But I came back, and one lady that I like to refer to when I first was going in was like late 70s, early 80s. And she had a 16-year-old son named Patty. Why I remember that, I don't know. I don't even remember her name. But she and her husband buried their son, who died from complications during the surgery. They get home from the funeral, and the husband says to her, I never want you to mention Patty's name again. He's gone. There's nothing we can do about it. He's gone. So what that lady did, she would read obituaries, and if whatever child she'd find, she would send them a sympathy card, and she would write a note. And I use her as an example, and I tell people, She was doing compassionate friends work before there was even compassionate friends. That's how she dealt with her sorrow and her grief. And there's so many ways people do deal with it in positive ways to help other people. And I know that John, and he's mentioned it before, just in passing, he's a salesman for insurance, and he'll talk. In fact, go ahead, you tell him how you touch other people
Well,
inadvertently.
well, I mean, let's see what it was probably just a couple months after I lost Miranda as an appointment. Remember in Columbus, they've been clients of mine for years, and then they were talking. They said how they lost their son, and I just broke down. I couldn't control myself. I just lost it, you know. Because I always remember when go to an appointment, do an introduction, tell them about myself a little bit, and then when I was figuring out my rate, I always carry around a card, pictures of Miranda from about the age of 3 to like 18 or so, and I was figuring out the right, how should I picture my daughter Miranda, and all that. And then after I lost her, I quit doing that. I was carrying them with me, but I don't show them. Now the question, how old is she? What is she doing now? So you know where that's going. I do remember this one client of mine, yeah, I saw her every month, and then I told her about what happened and stuff. She goes, this was just a little bit after it happened too. She's like, "Oh, you can just have another one." And I was like, "Huh?" And when it first happened, I was very unlike I am now. That's straight up an asshole. So, but I was very calm and just didn't talk a whole lot when that first happened. And then when that same lady, this is later, said it again, I was ready for it. I said, "Really? We just have another one?" I said, "Which one of your grandkids you want to lose?
That's right.
Which one's expendable?
Yeah.
Which one you want to replace?" I was like, "No, you're not." People like even when my parents took an insurance policy out of Miranda, even before I got in the insurance business. So I've been doing this for over 26 years. So she was born in '94, so they took a policy out on her. And I was helping them with the claim and stuff. Was through another company, and the agent who gave me the check was like, "Well, don't party too much with this." I just looked at him. I'm like, "This money is because I lost my daughter. You think I'm gonna have a party with it? Is he serious? Really?" You know. And he adjusted himself real quick. I was like, so I mean, there are always gonna be stupid people that say some ridiculous things and what have you, but yeah, it can be difficult. But here I am, almost 9 years later, and I remember the company I work for. We have a monthly meeting, and we go out to eat after the meeting. And there's this young kid here. We're really good friends now and stuff too. He's almost the same age as Miranda. He's born the same year, and we were just getting to know each other and stuff. We were talking about sports and stuff. He goes, "Well, you have any kids?" I said, "Yeah. So I got one daughter." And he goes, "How old is she?" I just, take a deep breath. So Miranda was 23 when she passed, and he just paused for, "I'm so sorry," and handled it fine. But I mean, just like the first things, like when I meet people now, and then I don't even ask them if they have children and stuff, because it's not that I can't talk about Miranda. It's just that I'm not going to bring it up per se. If they want to talk about their children, that's fine. If they ask me, then I'll just tell them, you know, Miranda was 23 when she passed. You know, just kind of learn how to deal with things. I remember that first week in between losing her and the funeral, I would just, I had a total, I could feel the physical fog in my head. I would just, I couldn't function much at all. I remember I do like 3 shots of Jack every morning to feel something, just to didn't feel numb anymore. I didn't become an alcoholic or anything, but just that during that week, I was like, I need something to drink. I just had to, just because I felt nothing, just total numbness, and I was like, it made me feel something. I just tell people all the time, well, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a drug addict, and I haven't killed anyone, so I feel like I'm doing pretty good. So.
one of the hardest questions is when someone will say to you, how many children do you have? Because either you don't want to make them uncomfortable, but yet, oh, excuse me, these allergies are killing me. Um, but yet you don't want to deny your child. And in the very beginning, part of us, we need to educate people. They don't know how to deal with us. And one thing that really bothers me a lot, even to this day, and it's 45 years later, especially with Jessica. Okay, say, well, Amanda played, in fact, I like to tell this story. She was the very first girl in Maslin in seventh and eighth grade that lettered in tackle football. If you don't think that didn't cause controversy in Maslin, but I love my Tigers. But anyway, um, say like we're sitting, we're talking, and I'll go, oh, I remember when Johnny played tackle football for Longfellow or LA or whatever, and I'll go, so did my daughter, and then it's like they shut up because they, you know, but why can we not mention, well, when they played Little League or when they were in nursery school or, it just makes people feel so very uncomfortable. That's what we've got to educate people as well, too. Um, One of the biggest suggestions, and I have some handouts for everybody as well, some of the things to say and not to say. One of the biggest things is you're not going to be able to fix them. Everybody wants to fix everybody. You can't fix us. There's nothing really wrong with us. We just have an unfortunate incident that has been in our lives. Just listen. Just listen to them. They want to sit and cry for an half an hour, and it's uncomfortable. I understand that. Just listen to them. Um, and then if they ask you a question, then maybe give them an answer of some sort. But I wanted to give you the history of Compassion Friends. Um, there were two parents in England, and within the same week, they had two young boys about the same age. One passed from being hit by a car on his way to school on his bike. The other young man had complications from surgery. Well, there was a young chaplain named Simon Stephen, um, who was in Warwickshire Hospital, and he met with them one day after they both had their funerals and what have you, and he saw how they helped each other. And that's how in England it was called the Society of the Compassionate Friends. Just like I don't think you're aware that hospice started in England as well, and then came to the United States. So Simon Stephen wrote a book called Death Comes Home, which I meant to bring, and I had a copy of it, and then lent it to somebody, and then I lost it, and it of course went out of print.
That's one that we ordered for you.
And one day at a meeting, I said to the guys, "Hey, if anybody's at a used bookstore and you're looking through books and you happen to see When Death Comes Home, would you grab it for me?" And of course he goes, "Sarita, you could go online and find it." And I go, "Well, then go online and find it for me, because I am not techie at all. I never think about going online." And he goes,
I'm not real good at computers either, and I was like, she kind of like Homer Simpson. Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
so he ordered the book for me, so I have it again now. Thank God for that one. But so anyway, Reverend Simon Stephen became assistant chaplain at Warwickshire Hospital in Coventry, England in 1968. And then the two parents, Kenneth Lawley, boy, was 11, was struck by a car while riding his bike to school. While offering comfort to Kenneth's parents, Joe and Iris Lawley, Reverend Simon Stevens mentioned another boy in the same hospital, Billy Henderson, who was dying of an illness. Kenneth Lawley died, followed by Billy Henderson a few days later. And in May, the Lawleys sent flowers to the Hendersons following Billy's death. At the encouragement of Reverend Stevens, the families met and became friends, as well as a source of support for one another. Reverend Stevens suggested they include other bereaved parents, and the Rattingham family was invited to join. So then, January 69, the first meeting of the Society of the Compassionate Friends was held in Warwickshire Hospital with Reverend Stevens, with the Radigans, Joe and Iris Lawley, Bill and Joan Henderson. And then October 70, Gabriel Shamras, and that's spelled Shamres, and her mother Paula were involved in an auto train accident in Florida and 10-year-old Gabby was killed. In May of 71, Paula and Arnold read an article in the Time magazine, which is just one page, about the British Society of the Compassionate Friends and contacted Reverend Stevens. November 71, Reverend Stevens visited Paula and Arnold Shamers in Florida and developed Compassionate Friends groups in the United States. Simon appeared on the Today Show, resulting in 18,000 letters forwarded to the Shamers. In spring of 72, Reverend Stevens took Death Comes Home. His book, Death Comes Home, was published. In fall of the 72, the first branch of the Compassionate Friends in the U.S. was developed and met in South Florida under the direction of Paula and Arnold Shamries. From 72 to 77, approximately 40 branches, well, we call them chapters, developed throughout the U.S., primarily in Florida and the Midwest. Reverend Don Baltzer and his wife Marion read Death Comes Home after their son Mark died in 1973. They contact Reverend Stevens and ask for help with starting a chapter in Hinsdale, Illinois. So July of 77, the Phil Donahue program featured Harriet Schiff, the author of The Bereaved Parent. Again, there was one bereaved book. Area TCF members were invited to be in the audience. There was overwhelming response, and 2 shows were filmed back to back because they had so many people calling into the TV channel station. A few months later, the first national newsletter was printed. Within a year, 126 chapters, now called chapters, were formed. In April of 78, TCF was incorporated in Illinois. The first national conference was held in Hinsdale, Illinois. Bylaws were adopted, a national board of directors was formed, and the first officers were elected. And in 77, when Jessica died, and 7 months later is when I went to my first chapter meeting. The strategic plan was revised and adopted, outlining goals for TCF, so on and so forth. Patricia Loader was named executive director in 2001. Excuse me. Anyway, CLTPs, chapter leaders, were reinstituted on a continuing basis by the board. January of 02, the Legacy of Love, the TCF Foundation campaign was launched. And so on and so forth. The rest of it is written in this paperwork that you could take with you. We have, well, before COVID, that's a terrible name. We used to have regional conferences. The regional conference was held locally in different states, and it would go from about 6 p.m. on Friday evening to about noon, about 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. It was usually held at a hotel convention center area. We would have workshops, sharing sessions. We would have a speaker, normally would come from the national office, and then we would disperse. And did you ever go to the one in Pennsylvania? There was a real good one in Pennsylvania that was held every other year. That I was a regional, one chapter leader, regional uh, regional coordinator, and I would have a sharing session and I would run a workshop.
Wait a minute, did you say Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it was in.
Yeah, I'm not legally allowed in there.
Oh, stop it. Anyway, see what I mean about John? Anyway,
We try to add a little humor because I mean, I think without humor, we go insane.
we'd all be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it just
Yeah, but anyway, so they would have these regional conferences because the national conference they try to have on the East Coast and then towards the middle of the states and then in the West Coast. And last year, the national conference was in Bellevue, Washington, which is outside of Seattle, Washington. And I've never been out to the Northwest. And oh my gosh, going over Mount Rainier and the mountains and all that's so gorgeous. But anyway, when I went out there last year, and partly because, and I'm going to brag here for a minute, and this is not why I do what I do, but I got nominated as National Chapter Leader of the Year, and I won. What about my?
she broke it.
I would have brought my award, which was absolutely gorgeous, this whole glass thing, and I took it to our picnic last year, and it dropped and broke. But anyway, I'm working on getting another one because it's too beautiful. But I mean, who else but TCF people are going to appreciate my award? So I took it to the meeting, to the picnic. But
I bought her a Butterfinger candy bar as a reminder.
this year's conference is in Baltimore. And I'm actually going to be driving to the Baltimore conference. Um, there's a gentleman that's going to be one of our keynote speakers. His name's David Kessler, and he's world-renowned grief educator, speaker, and what have you. Well, 3 years ago, and he still does this to this day, but he does an internet uh, educational, what would you call it? Anyway, it was a 3-month course, and
Seminar.
well, if you take the course and you answer the questions and you,
Yes.
yeah, that'd be it. Thank you. Um, thank you. Yes. Um, it was at 3 years ago. It was an $1,800 course. Well, I didn't have that kind of money, but because of my work with TCF, I could apply for a scholarship. I was granted the scholarship. I did the program, and I have a certification that I actually can put a sign out, and I can counsel people one-on-one. And I have counseled several women so far, and I don't accept any money. I don't charge a fee. But like I said, on the scholarship that we do for my late daughter Amanda, if people wish to give a donation for the scholarship fund, that's how I accept payment. But anyway, he's going to be one of our speakers this year, and I want to go out. I want to meet him face to face and thank him for the opportunity for my scholarship and tell him that I'm trying to do the work even better. But I don't solicit it at the meetings because that wouldn't be very ethical. So, but anyway, and I also have brought with me a kind friend of mine wrote a book about my late daughter Amanda, and it has a lot of history and about compassionate friends, and I do accept payment for that because half the proceeds go to Amanda's scholarship fund, and the other half goes to our chapter. Because, like I said, we don't charge a fee to come to the meetings and all that, but we accept money for love gifts. Um, when we go out and speak, we accept a fee for that as well. Um, I know I'm forgetting stuff because, well, I've been doing this for 45 years and I just assume people know, but what am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something.
As far as what we
The
do and stuff.
chapter and stuff, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like we could describe like a typical meeting some more or something.
Okay, and wait, let's talk about our signs. They are spiritual, they understand signs. Tell about your sign.
Yeah, I always have a knack for just finding things. You know, found a cell phone, got it back to the owner, or wallet, whatever it may be. I'm always finding things, and I used to go to I still go to Columbus once a week, but I used to go there every Thursday, spend the night, work there Friday, and come back home. And Miranda'd be like, I'd bring home something. She'd be like, "Well, did you buy this for me or find it?" It's like, who cares? As long as I was thinking of you. So, after she passed, her birthday her birthday is January 2nd. After she first passed, I was going to the cemetery every like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like Saturday and Sunday, at least 4 times a week. And then we all got together that first birthday without her at the cemetery, and so that was on the 2nd, and then that was like on Tuesday, I believe. And I was like, I usually go see her on Wednesday. Well, I just saw her yesterday. I'm not gonna go. Well, I'm gonna go. So I go there, and what my ritual is, my mom's parents and my two uncles. Like she's here on the corner, and they're down the road a little bit on the other side. So I go see them first, and then I walk back up and see Miranda, and then I talk to her and smoke a cigarette, and then I take that cigarette and go down and throw it in the sewer drain. And there was a lot of snow then. It was piled up all over the place. And I looked, when I got there, I parked the car in front of her, then walked down to see my grandparents and uncles. And then I didn't notice this. I don't know if I just wasn't there. I just didn't notice it. And then when I walked back up after I threw the cigarette away, I looked over. What is that? It's on a snowbank. I said, what is that? And I looked. It is a infant sock, pink, for a girl, pink and white, and it says "I heart my daddy." And I was like, how did I? Well, I mean, I'm just like, wow. I said, I'm not gonna claim to know I know that smart enough to know how that works. I'm like, was that God's intervention, guardian angel, whatever it may have been? I was like, wow. I couldn't. I think the odds would have been higher of hitting the lottery or something. 'Cause I was just like, wow. I mean, I didn't notice it when when I was walking to see my grandparents. I don't know if I didn't look over, and it was basically right next to where I'm going to be buried next to her. So I was like, wow, this is a sign. I still got the sock. It's all dirty because I was carrying it around for quite a while. And the sock was pristine. It was brand new. It was just like someone just placed it there. And I'm like,
That's the way it works.
yeah. And
I
yeah,
have one mother that finds, what'd she find?
hold on.
Not a butterfly,
Uh,
shoot. But she keeps finding this randomly. And one day she was coming into because we meet at Central Presbyterian Church in Masson, which is by the Masson Public Library. She had parked and she got out of the car and there was one. But we'll have people that'll find dimes or quarters and all that. Um, I have a couple. I call them God gifts. Uh, when the accident happened, well, I don't call it an accident. It was a crash. It could have been prevented. Anyway, the gentleman in the truck that she hit got out of the truck because when her car hit his truck, it flipped this way up over top of it and landed on its hood, and she actually was torn out of her seatbelt and was thrown. So he got out to see if he could help her, but he could tell that she was gone. So he bent down and he prayed for her because he's a Christian. And he came to calling hours and pulled my brother-in-law aside and he said, I have something I have to tell you. Well, in fact, he and his wife both came. They didn't know who we were or anything. And they came to the calling hours. She was killed on a Saturday. Calling hours were on a Tuesday. Her funeral was Wednesday. So he says, you've got to tell your brother. You've got to tell your sister-in-law. And he said, so I bent down and I prayed for her. And he said, all of a sudden, the atmosphere, God bless you. You need a Kleenex? That's all right. That's okay, dear. Um, and he said the atmosphere changed. Said he looked up. He said there were clouds. It was that day was a beautiful and actually May 3rd. It's 23 days since Amanda, or 23 years since Amanda passed, and this year marks. She's been gone now as long as she was alive, and I know. And May 3rd is next week, and it's going to be tough. But anyway, so said the clouds shifted. They said, as God in darkness, he said, I saw the angel take her. And Amanda was very, very spiritual. She had such a strong, strong faith. But anyway, and then a day or so later, I get a call from my sister, Carol, and she said, my nickname's Seat, Seat, because my name is not, I mean, my name is Sarita, but if you're Hispanic, it's pronounced differently than that. But anyway, and when my brothers and
also
sisters,
witness protection program.
yeah, she my name is pronounced Sarita, but unless you can roll your tongue, you can't really say it. And when my brothers and sisters were learning to talk, they could not say Sarita, came out Sita. Well, then some of my friends heard that and they shortened it to Seat. But anyway, she goes, Seat, you got to go out to the crash site. I went, Carol, I don't want to go out to the crash site. You have to. Why? There is the shape of an angel on the pavement. I went, what? She goes, there's the shape of an angel. Okay, so I had to go out. And I've got pictures of it. There is from the gas and oil and whatever transmission, whatever, in black, there is a shape of somebody, something in a black robe with the arms stretched out like this, and the head has a ponytail, And Amanda wore her hair in a ponytail out with the ball cap and how it goes through the back of the hole there, the hat facing Maslin. And I've got pictures of it. Okay. And then also, Amanda talked me out of wearing my diamond necklace that Joe bought me for our 10th wedding anniversary. So she was wearing it that day. Well, when I got her effects back, that wasn't there. And I mentioned it to Joe, and his buddies went out, and believe it or not, they found it amongst the broken glass and everything. Okay, that's one of the God things. Okay, so at the funeral, when we go out to the cemetery, Joel and I were the last. We were walking away, and everybody was going down to the Elks Club because Joel was a trustee, and that's where we were going to feed everybody. And I said, "Oh my gosh, Joel, we forgot to get a bagpiper." They go, "Yeah, we did, didn't we?" Because she loved the bagpipes, and they always play Amazing Grace, and they walk away, and it just really touches you. So anyway, he goes, "Well, we didn't." Okay, so then on Friday when we were at Ohio University for her service, she had made the marching 110 because she played the saxophone, the mellophone, the trumpet, and she played the bassoon in the wind orchestra. And actually, she played the bassoon twice at Carnegie Hall before she graduated from high school. But the band director loved her because she played the bassoon in the orchestra for 2 years. And the band director called Terry Forbes, who was in charge of her service, and he said, "I want my band to play." And he said, "What do you have in mind?" And he said, "I want them to come in, circle the first floor of the auditorium, and play the OU fight song at the end of her service." I said, "All right, that sounds great." So that happened, and we're getting up and we're leaving, and people are stopping to talk to me, people that I, didn't know or anything. And Angela comes up to me. She goes, "Mom, there's a bagpiper outside." I went, "What?" She goes, "There's a bagpiper outside." So I'm trying to hurry up to go out to thank this person. I don't know who it is. And I get out there and he's gone. And I go up to Terry Forbes. I said, "Terry, what was with the bagpiper?" He said, "Sarita, it was the weirdest thing." He said, "This guy comes running up the steps. He's, carried his bagpipe." He said, "I'm here to play the bagpipes for Amanda." And Terry goes, "Well, we've just closed the door. We're getting ready to start the service." He goes, "Why don't you play it when the people are coming out?" He said, "Okay." I said, "Terry, please, you've got to find out who this man is so that I can thank him properly." And here it is, 23 years later, to this day, they have no idea who this man was. That's another God sign. I truly believe that. But then we'll have parents, and every now and then we'll have that as a subject, and then they'll talk about it. And then, probably shouldn't say this on camera. Please make sure your mom comes this week, that she's feeling okay. Because what I've decided to do for this year, and I've never done this before, and again, I think God pops these things into my head, because Mother's Day's just around the corner. I'm getting probably a half dozen or so carnations that are going to have some baby's breath with it, tied with a bow ribbon, and I'm going to give that to each of the moms that are coming to the meeting. Because we were supposed to have Dr. Bartlett, and I don't know if you've ever heard him speak, but he's wonderful. And he wrote a book called Macaroni at Midnight. And he's a psychologist and a speaker, national speaker and all that. And he's a Native American out of Canada, but he was raised in the United States. And he is so horribly deformed from a cleft palate that they kept him in retard, and I know I'm not supposed to use this word, special needs classes, but they called it retarded back in those days because he's like early 80s, and because he couldn't speak. I mean, he had a horrible time even trying to be fed even by a bottle. His mother, dumped him and everything else, but he's an amazing, amazing human being. He was supposed to be our speaker this month, and it was his title was going to be Breakfast with Compassionate Friends. But anyway, he had to cancel because he's got pneumonia, and he didn't want to be able to, not be able to come at the very last second. So anyway, and I do have also the lady who helped provide the funding for the splash pad in Maslin, whose son drowned, and he was a diver, state qualifying state championship diver and swimmer. But anyway, and she's going to be coming and speaking about the splash pad and the legacy, because a lot of times, how do you remember your child? How can you remember your child? Well, for instance, we did the scholarship fund for Amanda. She and her husband were pretty well off, and they provided some of the money for the splash pad that the city put in for the kids. It's pretty, you know what a splash pad is, where the fountains come up, and kids can play in it. Not a swimming pool per se, but yeah, a fountain. I would like to seriously open it up, and I'm sure you have some questions. Please, no question will offend us. Don't all raise your hand at the same time. Okay.
What you mentioned about things not to say or what to say, is that on your on a handout? Or can you tell us, like,
I
the
oh,
biggest,
Casey, would you mind handing me one of the other two, please?
because it seems so normal that you meet somebody.
I have that.
Tell me.
Just bring them all and we can hand them out. Go ahead. Well, okay, because I was 8 months pregnant at the time with 4 weeks to go. If you would give one to each person, please. Um, I'm at a high school, somebody that I graduated with. We're crossing the street, and I don't know. She said, "How are you doing?" I went, "Well, I'm trying to survive. My daughter Jessica died." "Oh, I'm so sorry. How old was she?" 18 months. She goes, "Well, you can have more kids." That one,
Yeah.
and then please don't say, "Well, God needed another flower in that garden." Because unfortunately, yes, we're glad that they're in heaven. And yes, we're glad that they're out of their pain or whatever, but we still want them here with us because we're human, you know? Um, got any suggestions?
Like if like you
Thanks,
encounter
Dr.
someone that says they just
Stupid
lost a
thing.
child or something, or what when I say something stupid,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what well the suggestions I have now would not be very nice.
Well, just don't use any four-letter words, all right? Because we are live, right? Right.
I
I
handle a
asked,
lot of words.
I asked Casey, please, are you getting my good side, Casey? Yeah.
No, I mean like there's this one particular verse in the Bible, and so probably my favorites where everyone's in the synagogue and conducting business like a flea market almost or something. And Jesus comes into the synagogue and flips the table
Hmm.
to get everybody's attention. Because like through Christianity, it's kind of like tap on the shoulder, how are you doing, and stuff like that. And it's like it's like well that seemed almost un-Jesus like for him to flip that table, get everybody's attention. So like for myself, if somebody say something really stupid or ignorant, yeah, I'm gonna lay into them. It just like I said, at first I wouldn't say anything, but now it's just like, okay. Look at that one lady. Well, you just have another one. I said, all right. Which one of your grandkids you want to get rid of?
But
Which
in the
one's?
very beginning, he never would have
Yeah.
responded that way. You just take it, you know?
I mean, or like on the flip side of that, if you want to encounter someone where they lost a child or something, just oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. You don't have to get into a whole lot of, well, what about this? Just usually simple like that. Let them talk. That'd be my best suggestion if you're encountered in a situation like that where I know obviously you feel awkward. Like when for years when I go see all my clients and stuff, and I'd ask them, "You have any children?" Well, I had three. I lost one. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." A lot of times I would tell them, "I can't imagine what it'd be like to lose a child." And then I
And
did.
then you say, none of us believed we could live from our children dying. Um, when I was in the hospital having Amanda, a friend of mine came and brought me a cloth covered, like 5.5, 8.5 book with blank pages, and I started a journal. And at first I journaled a lot, and then like once a month, and then it was like once every 3 years kind of thing. Well, then when Amanda died, I started journaling again. So I kept it on my bookshelf and I started journaling again. Well, then, excuse me. Then when my friend told me that he wanted to write a book about Amanda, I'm thinking, I'm going to read the journal. Maybe there's going to be things there that I can remember or jot down or something. Excuse me. Um,
You cough the other way, thanks.
I, I did cover my mouth. Sorry.
Jeez,
Well,
how rude.
the microphone thing is over here. Anyway, okay. So, and I don't sleep real well. And I usually wake up about 4 o'clock every morning. So that's when I was started to read reading the journal, and I could only do like 4 or 5 pages, and I would cry and cry. Oh my gosh, I'd cry. What I had forgotten was how much I kept talking about taking my life. God, how can I survive? I let Jessica die, and then there's nothing I could do about Amanda, but how? Why? I couldn't believe how much I talked about that. Well, then, as he's progressing with the book, I'm thinking, we got to have a title for this book. And it's not that I worship Amanda. It's not that I pray to Amanda, but I go, and her nickname was Nani. I go, Nani, your mom needs a title for this book. Can you help me out? Can you give me a sign? Can you give me something? So I'm reading the book one morning, and in the middle of the page, on the right hand side of the book, in capital letters, was, Hi, Mom, it's me, Amanda. And I had forgotten that memory, which, as years pass, you keep forgetting things, unfortunately. So here, what that was about was her last year at OU. She was a fifth year senior because she could have graduated in four, but she wanted to be class president. That was one of her goals. So she continued for her fifth year. But she'd call home, or she'd call the print shop on Friday afternoons again, before call waiting, before call forwarding. You know, I mean, I think Facebook was just starting to come out, but again, not being techie, I didn't do any of that stuff. Anyway, she'd call and I'd answer the phone. Good afternoon, Master Quick Print. Oh, that was a plug for the print shop. Thank you. Anyway, so I'd go, Master Quick Print, and she'd say, Hi, Mom, it's me, Amanda. And then I'd laugh. Amanda, I know who you are. I know your voice. I know your name. I know you're my daughter. But every time, so I wrote that down, and I went, Thanks, Amanda. That's the title of the book, and it's called Hi, Mom, it's me, Amanda. You know, that kind of thing. But okay, next question,
This
Lisa.
constant being open and getting those signs.
Priceless.
We're looking at a mirror
Yeah.
and what you're doing to help people cope. And what is it? It's the 5 stages of grief, or
There are 5, but they've added another one. Yes.
but
And that was from Elizabeth.
next, like the loss of my mother, the loss of my husband, it never goes away, but remembering them positively as they were is so important.
Wrinkles and all, too. Right. Wrinkles and all.
Yeah.
It's like I saw the
Yeah.
wall there with all the people on there.
Hmm.
Like when Sarita was saying that with my Patty, a little boy Patty that passed away. I'll never say his name again. I was born in '72, and I have a cousin. Like he passed away in like '62 or '61. My dad's favorite uncle, my dad's favorite brother, my favorite uncle. And my mom told me the story that when they lost baby Joey, my uncle said the same thing. Never say his name or anything. It's like, it's just not a way to deal with it. I mean, you literally eat yourself up from the inside. You know, like I know for quite a while after I lost Miranda, I had a lot of anger. Didn't get any fights or anything like that, but I was very angry for quite a while. After being very subdued and stuff, then the anger started to come out. So,
Years and years ago, they did a study on keeping everything inside, even if it's not a death, but anger and everything inside. And they found that you could get ulcers, you could get cancer, all of this because it's eating you.
stress-induced stuff,
Yeah,
it's a real thing,
it's
don't let
eating
that
you up
get to you.
inside. Yeah.
Literally. I'll just keep smoking.
Now ask him, did he end up in the hospital because he was having heart issue? Is he still smoking? Yes. I get on him all the time
I don't want to be considered a quitter.
because he's young enough to be my son. Oh my gosh almighty. And he's an only child. Can you imagine his poor mom?
I suffer from a rare condition called OCS. Does anybody know what that means?
Are we afraid to ask?
It's only child syndrome. My girlfriend always says that too, and I said, "It's just the OCS, and if you have ADHD and ABC and everything else, I can have OCS. It's only fair."
You know, we were only supposed to maybe talk a half an hour. We've like had,
I'm not looking at it. I don't have my phone. I don't know what time it is. Is it
we,
Monday yet?
I think we really overstepped our welcome. But again, I am so grateful that we've been allowed to speak to you. And like I said, I don't know how many years ago it was, but we spoke
Yeah.
here before. Yeah, but again, like I said, we're the best kept secret. And I gave you each one of my cards.
To I kind of start, this is my own thing.
Okay.
When speakers have flyers and information, I've been putting it out along with their flyers.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you need more, remember I'm a print shop. I can get you more.
Bonnie's a great gallery, so.
Oh, okay.
When was that?
That was, oh gosh, been too long.
When she was downtown?
Yeah, before
Uh,
Bonnie got there, it was Ken Miguel and.
Right, right,
Well,
right. Well, yeah. My shop was just 3 doors down. Yeah. Mm. What? Absolutely. And did you by any chance know the mother of the boy from Masson that was killed last week in the car crash on Oberlin in Fennerfrock? Hmm. His calling hours were Friday. And she came in and ordered 500 memorial brochures. And I went to the calling hours, and everybody associated, family and friends and that, everybody wore white with bright orange accents because he was a Masson football player. It actually looked really kind of cool. I mean, I've had people say, please wear Tiger clothes or wear the Indians clothes or something, or Pittsburgh, but anyway. Any other questions? Again, yes. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Suzanne,
Suzanne, I'm sorry.
that's this building or this
Location?
location, thank you,
It's okay.
is dedicated to loss.
Right,
Some, I think it's more, well, there's a lot of suicide.
right.
Suicide, but I think they're open to any kind of thing.
Right.
And so there's like, you have a similar mission. And so I just think it's interesting that you are all this building and your group dedicated to supporting families
Our
of these people and
our focus is any age, any cause. And right now we're having adult children with suicides and overdoses. That's what we're dealing with a lot right now.
so maybe some of those people learned about you from here and maybe
Hmm.
they learned this place from you. And
In fact, I did have I had a call out to that lady to have her come and speak at one of our meetings.
Shannon.
But I don't know what happened. Somebody dropped the ball. Probably me.
We'll be meeting with her and I'm bringing.
Yeah, and because I'd really like to have her come and speak. Yeah, it's called resourcing. It's called networking, and there's yeah, there's more on the table. In fact, I can leave all of what's left. Yeah, yeah. We don't. We have a Facebook page, but again, I don't have anybody that really does that. And there's a couple of old newsletters on the table. Because of funding, we haven't sent out a newsletter for a good while. But
That's a letter.
what do you mean? What's a letter?
Like your handwrite stuff. Oh, I remember doing that.
I still do things the old-fashioned way.
So do I.
Mention that.
Facilitator that plays, it's the third week of the month. Third Thursday or Wednesday. It might be Wednesday. I know it's Wednesday or Thursday. Sixth. She talks to individuals about these signs that you were.
Hmm.
Third is when everybody's.
Third Wednesday, yeah, I've been needing to go.
We also talk about our dreams, and we have parents that have never had a dream about their child, and are, they get so upset because they go, "Well, how do you get a dream? How do you get?" Go, well,
Just happens.
hmm. But I did read an article or had at one of the conferences someone speak on dreams. They have a piece of paper, like if you have a bedside table or something, and a pen, and because if you dream, to as soon as you wake up to start writing it down, because you do forget about it, you know? Yeah, which was interesting. Oh, another, a fella by the name of Bill Guggenheim, and yes, he's from that Guggenheim family, but he says he's on the poor branch. But anyway, is there really a poor branch of Guggenheims? He and his wife Judy wrote a book called
Welcome to the Guggenheim
Sarita.
Museum.
Sarita, I'm having one of them senior moments.
Yeah, if I don't write it down,
But anyway, I will get it. I'll get the title to you because he was at the Philadelphia conference and they spoke on signs and like coins that you pick up and different things. But anyway, that evening they had a sharing session and there must have been 100 people in this room in this hotel. Excuse me. And they had a microphone and anybody that had a sign could get up and share it. All right. So, well, and I'll share it. Do I still have enough time? I have one more story. Go ahead. All right. So anyway, um, my first husband, John, died on his 21st birthday, and his birthday was January 5th, and he actually was found. I found him January 6th, but he actually died on the 5th. And Angie was 6 weeks old at the time. Okay, my oldest daughter. All right. So then 5 years later, I remarry, and 5 years after, or I mean, 2 years I remarried, and then 5 years, Joel and I had Jessica. Okay. And then she died at 18 months old. So John and Jessica never knew each other on earth. Okay. And so tormented. And I have this, I don't want to call it a dream. I don't know if you want to call it a vision or what, but I'm in bed, sound asleep. And I sit up and I'm standing on this country lane in full sunlight. And I'm not even sure if they were maple trees or what, but they were in full bloom and they were standing beside each other down both sides of this country lane. And it's so vivid, I can even see the particles coming through the trees from the sunlight. And John is standing with his back to me, hold his right hand is holding Jessica's left hand, and they're walking away from me. Well, they're walking away and they turn towards each other and look at me. Now Jessica was 18 months old. She had a few words, but she wasn't really talking yet. And he turns around and he said, Sarita, don't worry about her. I'll be looking after her. And then they turned around and they walked away. And then I don't want to say I woke up, I became aware. But I had such peace that came over me because it was like, "Well, who's keeping a look over? Is my mom watching her? Because my mom died drunk driving when I was 14. She left 5 kids, and I was the oldest of five. Was it my mom? You know, who? And here it was John. Well, anyway, so I told that story on the microphone. So we finished up. Everybody that got to speak spoke, and I'm walking back to my room, and I hear this. Excuse me, ma'am. And I'm walking. Excuse me. And he's yelling at me. And I turn around and here's this Bill Guggenheim. He comes running up to me and he goes, Can I please have your name and phone number? He said, I really liked your story. I said, Sure. So months later, I get a phone call because they're writing this book. But anyway, and it ended up being written like in 18 different languages and stuff. And it went worldwide. And everybody's name was changed in the story to protect the innocent, all that kind of stuff. But what they liked about my story was that two people who never met each other, two different times of their lives or whatever, are together. And they really liked that story. And I had the other story I told him was not long after my mother died, we all got separated and raised by different people, and three of them ended up in a children's home and all that. But I got raised by my great aunt. So I'm in bed sleeping, and I wake up. You know how when you're sleeping and somebody sits on your bed and it lowers from the weight of them, and you wake up? I woke up, and there's my mom sitting at the edge of my bed. And I went, Mom, you're dead. What are you doing? And she said my name properly. She goes, Sarita, I just want to let you know everything's going to be okay. and she disappeared. And it was like she wasn't even there. Do you have a question? Thank you. See, there you go. Internet technology. Thank you very much. And it, yeah. And I've got the copy, of course, because my story's in it. I'm Elena, a businesswoman from Ohio. But anyway, that story's in that book, yeah. But his workshops, they were so full. Well, he and Judy ended up divorcing, but he and I kept in contact. He lived in Florida, and every Christmas he'd send me his letter about his children and stuff, and he sent me a beautiful poem on printed paper and all that. But he since has passed away. Um, but if anybody wants to go, if you like the stories and stuff, it's in different categories as well, and it's really, really a good book. Say what? The name of the book is Hello from Heaven by Bill and Judy Guggenheim. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Maybe on that note, then I know you need a cigarette. I need some coffee. Yeah. But again, thank you so very much.
You.
Hmm.
Amazing. I'm true believer in the signs, and when they lose a parent, spouse, and it was to know to get those signs. It's so hard to lose someone to begin with, but you're an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Even me?
And you.
Yeah.
We usually end by joining in a circle, and we say 3 ohms. And if you want to hold hold space for anyone you want to mention, you're more than welcome.
And allow me to also, if any of you would ever like to come to a meeting, you're more than welcome. You
Our
just
next one's what? Tuesday?
Tuesday evening at 7 is our meeting, and it only goes from 7 to 8:30, and usually in the summertime, because we're in from 3 counties, people that are older in age and all that don't like to drive at night, it's still light when you leave and stuff.
Sure, Shannon will check information.
Please, thank you. Okay.
It's always important. You're speaking. Never know who's going to touch a certain person,
Right.
and how the spirit is working through them.
Okay. Oh,
Look, thank you.
you don't have to